So you might have heard of the phrase, just do it. Well, in algebra, we like to just undo it. You see those number tricks that we did yesterday? What those number tricks have done for us is they've given us an expression that we can evaluate. Well, if we undo it, we solve an equation. So here's a funny story. My daughter Emma was playing with her friend Rowan, and they were playing number tricks. And Emma says, okay, I'm going to pick a number. And when I add 3 to it, multiply it by 7, subtract 4, then divide by 2 and add 1, I get 13. Rowan thinks for a minute and goes, was your starting number 1? Emma was amazed. She was right. How did Rowan do it? Well, let's check out this table here. And this table is going to help us to figure it out. So it says to pick a number. So if we follow those steps, what we call our number x, we can then build an expression. So we're going to add 3. We're going to multiply by 7. We're going to subtract 4. We're going to divide by 2. And then we're going to add 1. And when we do all that to some number, we get a value of 13. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start here, and we're going to work our way up the column. So to undo, we want to think, well, how do we undo adding 1? Well, to undo add 1, you want to subtract 1. So to undo divide by 2, we're going to multiply by 2. To undo subtract 4, we're going to add 4. To undo multiply by 7, we're going to divide by 7. And then we're going to subtract 3. We don't really undo pick a number, so we usually leave that box blank. Now, let's start with 13, and let's start undoing. If I take 13 and subtract 1, my value is 12. Then we multiply by 2, and we get 24. Then we add 4, and we get 28. We divide by 7 to get 4. And then we subtract 3, and we get 1, the answer that Rowan got. So we can use an undoing process to help us solve an equation. Solve an equation? Yes, you really just did solve that equation. Think about what you did. You subtracted 1, so that's gone. You multiplied by 2, that's gone. Added 4, that's gone. Divide by 7, that's gone. Subtract 3, that's gone. You're left with x, and if you did all those operations to the 13, you would get your answer of 1. So let's use this undo process to solve an equation. So we're going to start by picking x, and then we want to use a number trick based on that expression to fill in this first column. So I'm going to start with my x value, and the first thing I would do is I would subtract 4. Then I'm going to multiply it by 2. Then I'm going to add 3. Divide that answer by 5. And then add 6. And when I do all that, I get an answer of 11. So now let's fill in the undo column first. And remember, start from the bottom up. So we subtract 6, multiply by 5, subtract 3, divide by 2, add 4, and that should be our value. So let's see if that works. If we take 11 and subtract 6, we get 5. Multiply it by 5 to get 25. Subtract 3 to get 22. Divide it by 2 to get 11. Add 4, and our result is 15. Not too bad. If we went and solved that equation using algebra instead of an undo table, we'd get 15. So let's think about why this method works. Do you know what the math term is for undoing? When you think undo, think inverse operations. And it's not just the inverse of the addition or the subtraction. It's the inverse of the order of operations as well. It's not just, well, I got to add. Or, you have to work in the correct order as well. So understanding the number trick will help you to solve the equations. Let me show you what I mean. I got 2 equations here. Let's take a look at the left one. So what's happening on this left side, if I start with x, once I start with x, the first thing that's happening to the x is I'm multiplying it by 2. Then I'm going to subtract 1 from that x, or that value, multiply it by 4, and add 3. And that's going to give me my value of negative 25. So now I want to undo this. So if I'm going to undo it, I'm going to subtract 3. So that tells me subtract 3 from both sides. Then I'm going to divide by 4. And that's going to give me 2x minus 1 equals negative 7. Then I'm going to add my 1 to both sides. Then I divide by 2. To get x equals negative 3. You try the next one. So think about what's happening to the x first. You're starting with x, and you're multiplying it by 3. Subtracting 1. Dividing it by 4, and adding 7. Let's undo those now. Subtract 7. Multiply by 4. Add 1. Divide by 3. If we do that process to 12, subtract 7, we get 5. Multiply by 4, we get 20. Add 1, we get 21. Divide by 3, x is 7. So hopefully you can see how the undoing process is a great aid in solving an equation.